Welcome back to Mark My Words. My guest tonight is Dr. Alex Sharah, and we're talking about the men's justice movement. And I want to know, has the women's movement over the past 20, 30, 40 years succeeded in effectively disenfranchising men and making men second-class citizens? Alex, what do you think?
I think you've put it well, Mark. The change in the relationship of men to women now is so destructive of society, and it's destroying families. So you've got all sorts of agencies that are moving in to take over from the father, not the mother usually, but the mother quite often. So you've got the police and docs, and you've got psychologists.
But surely they're not. But Alex, surely they're not all coordinating each other. Like, with the greatest respect, you're making it sound like a conspiracy between the United Nations, government agencies, the police, docs. Do you really believe it's that coordinated?
It doesn't have to be coordinated, Mark. It's just how it falls out. When you've got the law as it is, where men are discriminated against so blatantly and so cruelly and unjustly and obviously that way, you're not allowed to report it even, what goes on in the family law court. It all flows on then to the police. The police have had lectures in how to respond in domestic situations and between male and female. And it is coordinated. It does flow on from the law and through. Feminists make sure it gets through to the police, and they now are agents of destruction of the family.
So feminists won. Have feminists won?
Well, the feminists certainly have won.
But weren't they simply asking for equality?
No.
It was never a war as such that one side should win.
Well, they've lost. They've lost because to lose the man is for them to lose also. Many of these become mothers too, and when they have a son, they don't want their son to suffer what they have brought into the culture. They don't want that at all. And in fact, it's women who are very much behind this movement, men's justice movement, who see that men, if they're not helped, it's not going to help women. It doesn't help women by discriminating against the other side. It doesn't help men if we discriminate against women. If we did to women what we do to men, there would be an enormous outcry.
But Alex, it's reverse discrimination, and I've been saying this for years, even in terms of the ethnic situation in Australia, and it is such touchy ground. You say anything, they threaten to throw you off the air. It's a situation where suddenly, and I'm just using this as an example, so don't start writing in or wanting me thrown off air, but if you say I'm a white middle-class Christian male, you may as well label yourself as the enemy.
That seems to be the situation. The man who cares for his family. Now, you can't imagine a better economic situation than the cultural situation we had in the 50s when men worked and cared for their family. It didn't throw the family onto the social welfare.
Oh, but you can't seriously say, Alex, that the 50s were a better time. Like where women were paid half or three-quarters of the male wage, and they occupied such a small place in the workforce. Like, we do have female leaders today of nations, Julia Gillard, not that I'm putting her on a pedestal by a long shot, but surely we're living in a better era. You really believe the 50s were better in terms of the family unit?
There are very good movements that have helped women, and it would have come about regardless of the feminist movement. It was just the movement of society itself, where women would have taken their place in the public forum more than they did before. Before they were preoccupied with their family and home. But now there is lack of emphasis on the value of a marriage, of family. It's more of a personal thing. I have a child, and it's like I have a dog, or I have a bird, I have a child. It's not in the same way in which a woman saw it as a career in the past.
It's a brave new world. Let me just ask you, with the men's social justice movement, do you get a lot of feedback from guys out there, probably people who are watching this show now, Australia-wide, who are suffering, men who are hurting?
You're certainly touching on the truth there, Mark. Men suffer terribly, and I am getting feedback from them, but surprising, and I'm getting it from around the world, because this is a movement that has to go around the world. The injustice here is happening in Denmark, it's happening in Norway, it's happening in America, happening in England, it's happening in all the Western world, and I'm sure it's going to happen in the underdeveloped countries too, because the feminists are certainly going hammer and tongs to try and get their point of view and their culture and they're succeeding.
So the disenfranchisement of the male is an international thing.
It's definitely an international thing. We're making a whole new world, and it has to stop because it goes against nature. The normal, natural unit of society is the family. Man with his wife and his children, caring for his own, with his own rights and his own duties, her with her rights and her duties. Today it seems that men don't know where they fit in, and women don't know where they fit in. They think it's a power game. They've totally missed the whole meaning of what the relationship is, a relationship of love. Love that between the two, and the product of that love is the family. And their love brings out this wonderful reality that the children then grow up to be able to function well for society too. And that's what's been taken away. 50,000 children a year are affected by the operation of the Family Law Act.
Family law is the most sad area of the law. No one ever seems to come out a winner.
It's one of the most destructive vehicles.
I've got to agree with you on that.
Of social disintegration.
But Alex, there's a plethora of websites that are reaching out to men and saying, you know, have you been hurt? Has your life been disrupted by the Family Law Court of Australia? Surely they must be having some impact.
No, they're not. And
Why?
That's one of the great tragedies. Now, it's because we haven't tapped into the tremendous political force of the left through the unions, through all those movements of the disenfranchised. It doesn't seem to apply to men. It applies to women, it doesn't apply to men.
So equality is a one-way street.
There's just no equality in this at all. This is it's perhaps, I think, one of the biggest issues that faces our society, that men are discriminated against so mightily in all areas, in education, in the law and employment, and in the health and welfare section. Men don't get the same consideration as the woman gets. Not that women shouldn't get justice. We're not for injustice to women, but that women's justice shouldn't come at the price of injustice to men.
Now, is there anywhere people can go to, in terms of a website, to learn more about the social justice movement for men?
Men's Justice Movement, Dr. Alex Sharah.
So look that up. Look at what Dr. Alex has to say and see whether you agree, because it's certainly something that needs attention before more lives are lost. It is that serious. I'm Mark Barbalik. You're watching Mark My Words. Thank you very much, Dr. Alex, for being on the show.
Thank you very much, Mark.
I was astonished to see all the theatrics and debate in New South Wales again over ethics classes in schools. It's all in light of a New South Wales Upper House inquiry into the classes. Well, I still say government, parents, and especially the media are missing the main point in all of this. Ethics classes start at home. I'm old enough to remember when the teaching of ethics was something that sprung from the home environment. That's where it all started. Parents, relatives, close friends. These were the people that imparted ethics to children. In fact, look, it's been like that for thousands of years. It's been like that for millennia. But today it seems ethics is something that needs to be taught. Apparently you need the formality of a classroom. You need a syllabus. You need a professionally qualified teacher before you can tell the difference between right and wrong. Perhaps those that are pushing for ethics classes are people who are afraid of the subject. Maybe they can't come to grips or come to terms with what ethics actually are. Maybe it's an area totally foreign to them. But look, perhaps the whole thing comes down to responsibility. Now let me say that word very, slowly. Responsibility. Personal responsibility. In this world we live in, where you blame everything on someone else except yourself, responsibility seems to be a redundant term. Of course, that doesn't apply to Mark My Words viewers. Judging by the letters, you're a pretty switched on bunch. I get the chance to say what you're thinking without the spin and without the self-interest and agenda. So until we meet again in the home of common sense current affairs on community television, I'm Mark Barbaluke and you've been watching Mark My Words.